Hey everyone, it's Isha. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I tried doing a Korean Ulzang inspired makeup, and if you want to see how I achieved this look, just keep on watching.
When I wake up, I feel cozy, yeah. Can you hold up? Don't need no coffee yet.
First, I'll be using face mask by Ekel, and gagamitin ko to para ma-moisturize yung skin ko ng gusto. Then, I'll be using this moisturizer by The Face Shop para yung maging finish ng makeup ko is super glowy and radiant.
Don't you love when we take our time to make love? Promise you I'm not wasting time.
To moisturize my lips, gagamitin ko tong tinted lip balm by Human Nature. I decided to moisturize my lips now para mamaya lip tint na lang ang ilalagay. For priming, I'll be using this silicone primer by The Ordinary. Ia-apply ko lang siya sa T-zone area ko and then i-spread ko lang siya throughout my face. For foundation, I'm using Fenty Beauty in the shade 230 and imimix ko lang siya with moisturizer para yung maging finish nito is glowy, and idadab ko lang siya sa buong mukha ko using damp sponge. For my brows, I'm using this drawing eyebrow pencil by Etude House, and ipa-follow ko lang yung shape ng brows ko in applying.
Let me know if you ever think that I am being too much. You got me feeling love, even though I hold us up. Let me know if you ever think that I am being so. Just stay a minute, another minute. Hold on a second, I love this moment, yeah. Just stay a minute, another minute. Hold on a second, I love this moment, yeah. Just stay a minute.
Then I'll just blend it with spoolie brush. And then, I'll just clean it up with a concealer, and lalagyan ko rin ng concealer yung arch ko to create that straight brows effect, pero I'm not sure if that made any difference sa brows ko kasi yung brows ko may arch talaga. For concealer, I'm using Photo Focus Concealer by Wet n Wild, and i-apply ko lang siya on my under eyes. Ito rin yung concealer na gamit ko in cleaning up my brows kanina. After applying the product, I'll just blend everything out with a damp sponge. As you notice, nag-apply din ako ng konting concealer sa lids ko para yun yung mag-serve as my eyeshadow primer. For my transition shade sa eyeshadow, ang gamit ko naman ay color tint in the shade Ocean. Isang dot lang, sapat na siya for my whole lid, and ibe-blend ko lang siya using blending brush. For my lower lash line, ito naman yung gamit kong palette using the shade Amber. I-apply ko lang siya using flat brush doon sa lower lash line ko. And then, I'll be using the Sorbel shade para ilagay sa outer lid ko. I-blend ko lang siya using this pencil brush. And then, I'll just blend everything out with the blending brush na gamit ko kanina. For the shimmer, I'll be using the shade Ginger, and i-apply ko lang siya sa middle ng lid ko and then sa lower lash line ko. As I'm applying it sa lower lash line ko, in-extend ko rin siya papunta sa inner corner ko to create that bigger eye effect. And i-blend ko lang ulit lahat. For my eyeliner, I'll be using this long-lasting eyeliner by Focallure. Hindi ko masyadong kakapalan yung pag-apply, but I'll make it as close as possible sa lash line ko.
Something's gonna change. 그냥 흐름을 그린 손 잡아줄게. 그럼 이로 오라. 나는 본 것은 나도 몰라. 처음 보는 광경에 도대체 뭐라. 벽을 끼고 날아서 광경 말고 자식아. 그런 모든 자리에 있을 거야. 언제부턴가 내가 날아가고 있잖아. 그거린지.
And then for the powder, gagamitin ko tong palette by Makeup Revolution, and i-apply ko lang yung powder sa under eyes ko on top of my concealer. Then I'll be using this shade to contour my nose. Para ma-highlight din yung nose ko, gagamitan ko siya ng konting concealer. And then i-blend ko lang siya using a damp sponge. To blend my contour, gagamitan ko lang siya ng small fluffy brush. And then, para ma-blend lahat, tatapalan ko lang siya ng powder using a large fluffy brush. For my blush, ang gamit ko ulit ay yung color tint in Ocean. Mag-a-apply lang ako ng 1 to 2 dots sa cheeks ko, and then I'll be using this brush to blend it out, and i-blend ko siya pataas ng cheekbones ko. And then for my lips, I'll be using color tint in Jordan, and diffuse ko lang siya i-apply. I am applying concealer first all over my lips para mas lumitaw yung color payoff ng tints na gagamitin ko. And then for the darker color, I'll be using this color tint in Lucy. And i-apply ko lang siya sa center of my lips. Then i-blend out ko lang siya with the previous color that I used para to create that gradient effect. And then for my mascara, I'll be using this L'Oreal Lash Paradise. But before using it, i-curl ko muna yung lashes ko. Lastly, for my highlight, I'll be using the Ultra Contour Palette by Makeup Revolution, and I'll be using this shade. This is the final look, and if you like this makeup tutorial, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next one. Au revoir!
When I wake up, I feel cozy, yeah. Can you hold up? Don't need no coffee yet. Got no makeup. How do you look so fine? Bust up, bust up.